What if your biggest enemy isn't the one shouting at you, but the one hugging you? We grow up learning to watch out for our enemies who openly hate us. The loud critics, the bullies, the people who make it clear they're not on our side. But life doesn't always work that way. Sometimes the ones who hurt us the most don't come in with punches and insults. They come in softly, wrapped in kindness, concern, and even affection. And that's what makes them so dangerous. Think about it. A real enemy, the obvious one, at least gives you a chance to prepare to build your defenses. But a fake friend, they walk right past your guard. They sit close. They smile. They say all the right things. Meanwhile, inside there's resentment, envy, maybe even hatred. And you don't see it until it's too late. These people don't stab you in the back. They gently wear down your confidence, chip away at your sense of worth, and drain your emotional energy, all while calling you friend. They don't attack directly. They ask, "Are you sure this is right for you?" Or, "I'm just worried you'll be disappointed." They disguise jealousy as concern. They plant seeds of doubt and call it advice. What's so tragic is that we often don't realize it's happening. Why, Mom? Because we crave connection. Because we want to believe the people around us have our best interests at heart. Because we've shared laughs, stories, even secrets with them. But none of that guarantees loyalty. Familiarity is not the same as safety. And here's the deeper truth. People who pretend to support you while secretly hoping for your downfall are often stuck in their own unresolved pain. They can't celebrate your growth because it reminds them of where they're stuck. They can't cheer for your wins because they feel like your success highlights their failure. And rather than deal with their own insecurities, they choose to quietly resent you while staying close enough to monitor you. But this isn't just about them. It's about you. It's about recognizing that not every warm smile is sincere, and not every comforting word is free from poison. It's about learning to trust your gut when something feels off, even if there's no obvious reason. If your energy drops around someone, if you feel smaller after spending time with them, if you constantly have to justify your dreams or shrink your light, those aren't coincidences, that's data. And you don't owe anyone continued access to your life just because they've been around. Loyalty doesn't mean keeping people who make you doubt yourself. Love doesn't mean tolerating subtle sabotage. The Stoics taught us that we can't control what others do, but we can control how we respond. That includes who we allow into our inner circle, whose opinions we value, and which voices we let echo inside our minds. Choosing to distance yourself from someone who drains you isn't cruelty, it's clarity. So here's your reminder. Your peace, your power, your progress, they're worth protecting. And sometimes the first step toward real freedom is letting go of the ones who smile while secretly rooting for your failure. Stay alert, stay strong, and remember, not every enemy is loud. Some whisper sweetly while hoping you fall. Sign 1. They disappear when you need them the most. There's a kind of heartbreak that doesn't come with shouting or slammed doors. It comes with silence. It comes when you reach out in your darkest moment and the person you thought would always be there simply isn't. No response, no check-in, just space, excuses, and quiet withdrawal. And what makes it hurt even more is the memory of how often you were there for them. You were the one who answered the phone when they were crying at 2 a.m. You listened to their doubts, their heartbreaks, their fears. You stayed up late when they needed comfort. You rearranged your own priorities to help them. You showed up, not because you had to, but because you cared. But when your world cracked, when you needed the same energy returned, they disappeared. At first, you'd try to rationalize it. Maybe they're overwhelmed. Maybe they don't know what to say. Maybe they'll reach out tomorrow. But that maybe turns into days, weeks, and the silence speaks louder than any excuse. That's when the truth hits. They were never truly invested in you. They were invested in what you gave. They enjoyed your warmth, your strength, your energy. But they were never prepared to carry you through your own storm. This is what we call a fair weather friend. Someone who loves you when you're shining, but retreats the moment you start to struggle. They're not here for the whole journey, only for the highlights. And you know what? That's not real friendship. Because real friends don't vanish when the atmosphere changes. Real friends grab an umbrella and sit with you in the rain. The danger of fair weather friends is that they trick you into believing you're never allowed to be vulnerable. They condition you to think that being strong is the only way to be loved. So even when you're hurting, you hesitate to reach out, afraid of being too much. But let me remind you, needing support doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. So what should you do? You stop begging for attention from those who abandoned you. You stop explaining your pain to people who didn't even ask how you were. You shift your focus. Who stayed? Who reached out without being prompted? Who showed empathy when you least expected it? Those people deserve your energy. The rest, let them go. Their silence is the answer you have been avoiding. Life has a way of revealing truth when you're at your lowest. Pay attention, because the people who vanish in your suffering were never meant to celebrate your joy. Don't take their absence personally. Take it as protection. Sometimes the universe removes people to make space for those who are meant to truly love you. You deserve relationships that hold space for your pain, not just your potential. And the ones who stay, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's messy, those are your people. Keep them close. Because when you finally rise again, and you will, they'll be the ones still standing beside you, not just clapping for your success, but proud they never left your side. Sign 2, they congratulate you, but without their heart in it. There's a strange kind of tension that arises when someone says all the right words, but somehow none of it feels real. You just landed a new job, launched a creative project, hit a long-awaited personal milestone. You're proud, you're excited, and naturally you expect your friends, especially the close ones, to share in that moment with you. So they say, "Congratulations," or "That's great." But something in their tone is flat. Their eyes don't light up. The smile doesn't quite reach their face. Or worse, they say nothing at all. Just give a polite nod before quickly shifting the topic. It's subtle, but you feel it. The emotional disconnect. The lukewarm reaction that makes your joy feel awkward. Like maybe you shouldn't have shared it at all. Sometimes they'll even go through the motions. They'll share your post, mention your success in passing, maybe even leave a one-word comment like, "Impressive." But behind the gesture, there's no warmth, no genuine excitement. It's like someone handing you a gift with empty eyes. And deep down, you start to wonder, why does this feel so hollow? The truth is, when someone can't celebrate your success with their whole heart, it often has little to do with you and everything to do with them. Your growth can highlight their stagnation. Your confidence can trigger their self-doubt. Your win, no matter how well-deserved, might awaken feelings they haven't resolved. Feelings like jealousy, comparison, or insecurity. And rather than admit that, They try to suppress it, so they offer you a safe version of support. One that looks good from the outside but leaves you feeling strangely alone in your moment of triumph. It's not loud sabotage. It's quiet disapproval disguised as politeness. You might even gaslight yourself. Maybe I'm overthinking, you tell yourself. They said congratulations, didn't they? But your body knows what your mind tries to rationalize. The energy didn't match the words. The heart wasn't there. And when that pattern repeats enough times, it becomes clear they don't actually want to see you rise, at least not higher than them. So what can you do? You don't have to confront them. You don't have to cut ties. But you can take note. You can stop giving your brightest moments to people who dim the room. You can start being intentional about who gets access to your joy, because your victories, big or small, deserve to be celebrated fully, loudly, and sincerely. Protect your energy by observing where your light is welcomed and where it's merely tolerated. True friends will meet your wins with real emotion. Their voices will carry enthusiasm. Their eyes will reflect pride. Their support will feel effortless because it's real. Anything less than that? It's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to notice. In the end, you deserve to feel seen, not just when you're struggling, but especially when you're thriving. You deserve people who don't just clap because they have to, but because they truly want to. So if you sense that someone's congratulations come from the lips, but not from the heart, trust that feeling and start protecting your joy like the treasure it is. Sign 3. They always give backhanded compliments. There's a certain type of compliment that doesn't lift you up. It leaves you confused. You're not sure whether to say thank you or walk away feeling slightly insulted. It's the kind of remark that looks like praise on the surface, but underneath, there's a subtle jab, a dig wrapped in politeness, and it's one of the most emotionally manipulative forms of criticism you'll ever encounter. Maybe you've heard it before. Wow, I didn't think you could actually pull that off. Or you look great today, much better than usual. At first, you might smile, trying to be gracious. But then, a few seconds later, the unease settles in. Wait, did they just insult me? You replay it in your head, trying to make sense of it. You don't want to overreact. You don't want to seem sensitive. But something about it feels off, and that's not your imagination, because it is off. This is what's known as a backhanded compliment. It's not a slip of the tongue. It's a deliberate tool some people use to make you doubt yourself while still looking polite or even supportive. These kinds of remarks come from people who often struggle with envy, insecurity, or control. They don't want to see you fully confident or empowered, so they find creative ways to keep you slightly uncertain. And the worst part? If you call them out, they'll flip the script. What? I was just trying to be nice. Or you're too sensitive. Suddenly, you're on the defensive for reacting to something that was designed to provoke you. That's the genius of this tactic. It keeps you questioning yourself instead of questioning them. You start to internalize it. Every time they compliment you, you hesitate. You second-guess your success, your appearance, your progress. And over time, it chips away at your confidence. You find yourself working harder not just to grow, but to prove yourself to someone who never really believed in you to begin with. Let me be clear. Real compliments feel safe. They make you smile, not shrink. They come from a place of sincerity, not superiority. If someone's kind words consistently leave you feeling small, it's not your fault. You're being emotionally undermined, not uplifted. So how do you deal with this? First, start recognizing the pattern. Pay attention to how you feel after interacting with them. If you often leave conversations feeling unsure of yourself, that's a red flag. Next, set an internal boundary. You don't have to absorb every word just because it was said with a smile. You can silently reject the insult even if you nod politely on the outside. And if you feel brave enough, call it out, gently but clearly. Say, that sounded more like a dig than a compliment. Just being honest. You're not starting a fight, you're holding space for yourself. Sometimes just naming the behavior is enough to make it stop. Most importantly, protect your self-worth. Not everyone gets a front row seat to your growth. And the people who only cheer when they're secretly dragging you down, they don't deserve access to your wins. Surround yourself with those who compliment you without agenda, who lift you without condition, because your confidence isn't a threat, and the right people will never treat it like one. Sign 4, they copy you, but in a toxic way. There's a fine line between admiration and imitation, and sometimes the people who claim to admire you the most are the very ones quietly competing with you. It starts off subtle. You share a new idea, a personal goal, or a creative passion you've been working on. They listen, they smile, they nod supportively, and for a moment you feel seen, respected, encouraged. But then something shifts. A few days later, they start doing the exact same thing. It might be the way you dress, the words you use, the content you create, or even the goals you set. And at first, you might brush it off. Maybe it's just coincidence. Maybe they were inspired, but the pattern continues again and again. And not only are they copying you, they're presenting it like it was their idea all along. They don't give credit. They don't acknowledge your influence. Instead, they position themselves in the spotlight, using your blueprint as their own. And that's when it hits you. This isn't admiration anymore. It's silent competition, and it's personal. You see, real inspiration uplift. It's shared openly and respectfully. But toxic imitation? It's rooted in insecurity. These people don't just want to be like you. They want to be better than you, louder, more visible, more applauded, and all while pretending to be on your side. What makes it more complex is that they rarely show open hostility. In fact, they often mask their actions with friendliness. They'll say things like, "You inspired me," or "We're so alike." But their behavior tells a different story. Every step you take, they mimic, but always with a twist meant to outdo you. It's a race you didn't sign up for, in a game you never wanted to play. This kind of dynamic is exhausting. It makes you second-guess what you share. It makes you feel paranoid about your own originality. You begin to wonder, should I hold back? Should I stay quiet? Should I stop creating just to avoid being copied? And that's exactly what they want. Because if you shrink, they don't have to keep chasing. But let me offer you a different path. You don't need to dim your light to make someone else comfortable. You don't need to stop evolving just because someone is using your progress as their cheat sheet. You simply need to recognize what's happening and protect your space. Start by sharing less with them. Not out of spite, but out of self-respect. Your ideas, your style, your growth, those are sacred. And they're not for everyone, especially not for people who twist your brilliance into competition. Then shift your focus back to what truly matters, your own journey. Keep innovating. Keep expanding. Because the truth is, copycats can only chase, they can never lead. They might borrow your path, but they'll never walk it the way you do. And finally, Trust your instincts. If someone's presence makes you feel like you're always being watched, always being measured, always being imitated without acknowledgement, it's okay to step back. Real friends don't compete. They cheer. They build their own lane while celebrating yours. So the next time you feel someone is following your every move with silent ambition, don't let it shake you. Let it remind you that you're worth imitating. But more importantly, remind yourself you don't need to compete with anyone because no one can be you better than you. Sign 5, they pretend to care, but it's really about control. Sometimes the most dangerous manipulation doesn't come from people who openly criticize you. It comes from those who speak softly with just enough concern in their voice to sound loving, while secretly planting fear in your mind. You're excited about something. Maybe it's a new opportunity, a bold idea, a risk you finally feel ready to take. You share it with someone close, expecting encouragement. Instead, they pause and say, "I just don't want you to get hurt," or "Are you sure this isn't too much for you?" It sounds like care, but if you listen closely, it's not support. It's subtle sabotage. Over time, these kinds of comments start to wear you down. Every time you share a goal, they respond with doubt disguised as realism. "That's ambitious. Don't get your hopes up." "Are you sure you can handle that?" You know how competitive that field is, right? They never say don't do it directly, but they don't have to. The message is clear. Stay where you are. Don't aim too high. Don't make me uncomfortable by growing. What they're really doing is using fear as a leash. They present themselves as the voice of wisdom, the one who knows better. But in truth, they're projecting their own insecurities onto you. They're afraid not for you, but of you rising beyond them, of you becoming something they can't control. You see, when you grow, you change. You evolve. You step into a new version of yourself. And that threatens people who have built their sense of value around being the more experienced, the wiser, or simply the one who has it together. So instead of saying, "I'm scared of being left behind," they wrap their fear in love and hand it to you like a gift. And if you're not careful, you'll start accepting it. You'll begin to second-guess your instincts. You'll shrink your goals so they feel more comfortable. You'll hesitate not because you're unprepared, but because someone you trusted made you believe that your courage was foolish. So how do you recognize this pattern? Start by observing how you feel after sharing your dreams. Do you feel lighter, more inspired? Or do you walk away with a knot in your stomach, suddenly unsure of what felt so clear before? Do they ask thoughtful questions that help you grow? Or do they point out every risk without offering any real encouragement? A person who genuinely cares will help you prepare, not hold you back. They'll say, "I'm here for you, let's figure it out together." Not, "I'm worried, so maybe don't try." The difference is subtle, but it's everything. So what do? You start by setting boundaries, not out of anger, but out of awareness. You don't need to defend your dreams to someone who only sees the danger. You need people who see the possibility. And if someone's concern consistently leaves you feeling smaller, more afraid, less certain, it's okay to protect your vision from them. Not because you hate them, but because your growth deserves clean air, not a fog of hidden control. Trust your gut, trust your calling, and trust that real support doesn't sound like fear. It sounds like belief. The kind that says, "You've got this, and even if you stumble, I'll be here." Anything less than that, it's not care. It's quiet control dressed up as love. Don't fall for it. Sign 6, they quietly undermine you, one comment at a time. Sometimes the most damaging words don't sound harsh at all. They come in soft tones, delivered with a smile, hidden beneath the surface of what seems like honest advice. You share something you're working on, a new goal, a dream you've been chasing, maybe just a small win that matters deeply to you. You're not looking for applause, just a little support. But then you hear it. That's interesting. But are you sure you're ready for something like that? Or, that's a nice idea. I just don't want you to be disappointed. At first, it doesn't even register as an insult. It feels like caution, maybe even concern. But over time, you start to notice a pattern. Every time you speak with them, there's a tiny sting in what they say, a little doubt, a subtle hesitation, a quiet suggestion that maybe you're not as capable as you think you are. These aren't random remarks. They're small, calculated emotional jabs, delivered just gently enough to avoid confrontation, but sharp enough to slowly drain your confidence. They don't say, "You'll never succeed." That would be too obvious. Instead, they say, "I'm just trying to be realistic," or "I don't want you to set yourself up for failure." And you start to internalize it. You begin to second guess yourself more often. You tone things down. You hesitate to speak up. That's how emotional undermining works. It doesn't shout, it whispers. And those whispers can live in your mind for a long time if you're not careful. Sometimes the people who do this don't even realize they're doing it, but that doesn't make the impact any less real. Whether intentional or not, the effect is the same. You start to question your worth. You start thinking smaller. You hold back your own progress to stay within their comfort zone. And that's the hidden motive. Whether consciously or unconsciously, they don't want to see you grow beyond the version of yourself they're used to, because if you grow, if you succeed, if you shine, they might have to confront their own sense of inadequacy. They might lose the sense of control they feel by staying one step ahead of you. So how do you respond? First, notice how you feel around them. Do you feel smaller after conversations? Do you feel like you constantly need to explain your dreams or justify your ambitions? That's not normal. That's emotional erosion. Then create space, not necessarily through confrontation, but through boundaries. Share less with them. Protect your vision while it's still growing. Not every dream needs to be exposed to the kind of energy that slowly poisons it. And most importantly, remind yourself daily, you don't need validation from people who make you feel unsure about your own strength. The fact that you have a dream, that you've started, that you're moving forward, that's already proof of your courage. Real support doesn't make you shrink. It helps you stand taller. So the next time someone tells you, "I'm just being realistic," ask yourself, realistic for whom? For them, or for the version of you they're afraid you'll become? Because if someone's idea of being supportive always makes you doubt yourself, it's not support, it's subtle resistance. And your dreams are too important to be filtered through someone else's fear. Sign 7. They secretly celebrate your failure. Failure is hard, but what makes it unbearable is when you fail and realize someone close to you is quietly enjoying it. Not with laughter, not with open cruelty, but with subtle shifts, an unspoken relief in their eyes, a sudden lightness in their voice, or a backhanded comment that stings just enough to make you pause. You were hoping for comfort, but instead you feel exposed. Not only did something in your life fall apart, you now see who was never really rooting for you in the first place. You come to them vulnerable. Maybe your plans didn't work out. Maybe something you cared about deeply collapsed. You're hurt. and you're looking for reassurance. And at first they say the right things. I'm so sorry. That must be tough. But their tone doesn't match the words. There's no real warmth, no real sorrow. And then the little comments slip in, well, I kind of saw that coming, or next time maybe just listen to what I said. In those moments, something inside you cracks, not because you failed, but because the person standing beside you isn't offering a hand. They're savoring the view. Why do people do this? Why would someone who claims to care about you feel secretly satisfied when you're down? The answer is uncomfortable, but important. Some people carry quiet resentment. Your success, even if they never said it out loud, makes them feel inadequate. And when life knocks you off balance, it gives them a sense of relief. You're no longer ahead. You're no longer the one shining. And without having to do anything at all, they feel elevated. This is a silent victory for them. One they would never admit to because that would expose the truth they're trying to hide. They never truly supported you. They tolerated your wins, but they didn't celebrate them. And when you stumbled, it didn't pain them. It pleased them. The hardest part isn't seeing that moment in their eyes. It's what follows, the fake empathy, the way they quickly change the subject, the sudden cheer in their mood. It all confirms what you feared. You're alone in your pain, and the person closest to you is quietly at peace with your suffering. So what do you do when you see that truth? You don't need to explode. You don't need a dramatic exit, but you do need to withdraw mentally, emotionally, maybe even physically. These people should not have access to your wounds. They don't deserve your vulnerability. And when you rise again, and you will, don't forget who disappeared and who smiled when they thought you were done. Keep your circle clean. Let your setbacks reveal who belongs and who was only ever there to witness the fall. Because real friends don't get satisfaction from your pain. They hurt when you hurt. They lift when you fall. They don't say, I told you so. They say, I'm here, we'll figure this out. If someone in your life celebrates your struggle, even in silence, they were never meant to be part of your success. And the best response? Rebuild. Rise. Let them watch in silence again. But this time from the distance they chose. Sign 8. They always make you justify yourself. There's a unique kind of discomfort that comes from sharing something you're proud of, only to be met with suspicion instead of celebration. You tell someone you finally got that promotion, that you closed a big deal, that you reached a personal milestone that took months, maybe years to accomplish. And instead of, that's amazing, or I'm so proud of you, they respond with, really? How'd you manage that? Or did someone help you with it? Or are you serious? And on the surface, these might seem like innocent questions, but you feel the shift, the pause before you answer, the way their tone doesn't match the words. It's not curiosity, it's doubt, dressed up like interest. They're not asking to understand, they're asking to undermine. It's a subtle but powerful move, one that forces you into the defensive, where you suddenly feel the need to explain, to prove, to validate what should have simply been a moment of joy. Over time, this pattern becomes exhausting. Every time you share something good, you brace yourself for the interrogation. You anticipate the raised eyebrows, the skeptical tone, the sideways compliments, and eventually you start to shrink your wins. You downplay your achievements. You stop sharing altogether because it feels safer to keep your success private than to have to defend it to someone who's supposed to be on your side. This behavior is rarely about you. It's about control. It's about ego. When someone struggles with their own self-worth, your progress becomes a threat. And instead of working on themselves, they work on you, pulling you back down, not with insults, but with questions. They'll never say, "I don't believe you deserve this." Instead, they'll make you say again and again why you do. It's psychological erosion, and it works unless you see it for what it is. So how do you respond to this kind of subtle sabotage? First, notice how often you feel like you have to explain yourself around them. Do you feel guilty for your success? Do you feel like your good news is being met with interrogation instead of inspiration? That's not normal. That's not support. Second, reclaim your space. You don't owe anyone an explanation for working hard, growing, or getting better. Your success is not up for debate. It's not a courtroom where you need to present evidence. If someone makes you feel like it is, that's their issue, not yours. You deserve people who believe you the first time, who hear your good news and light up, who say, "Of course you did that. I always knew you could." Because that kind of trust doesn't question. It celebrates. So the next time someone responds to your win with a question designed to corner you, try this. Smile, pause, and say, "I made it happen. That's all you need to know." Then move on. Let the silence say what they were too proud to admit, that your success speaks for itself. And if they can't celebrate you without making you prove yourself first, then they were never truly with you to begin with. Surround yourself with people who don't need a backstory to believe in you, because you were never meant to justify your worth. You were meant to live it. In life, a true friend is someone who celebrates your joy like it's their own and aches when you hurt, without ever making you explain why you deserve what you've earned. They don't question your worth. They don't compete with your growth. And they certainly don't need to be convinced that your success is real. Real friendship feels safe, balanced, and nourishing. But when someone pretends to be your friend while quietly resenting your progress, doubting your decisions, or feeding your insecurities, they become something far more dangerous than an enemy. Because at least with an enemy, you know where they stand. You can see the threat coming. You can protect yourself. But with a hidden hater, someone who smiles to your face and questions your value behind your back, you end up second-guessing your instincts, your strength, and even your sanity. These people don't want to destroy you outright. That would be too obvious. What they want is subtler. They want access. They want proximity. They want to be close enough to monitor your journey, but not close enough to truly support it. They want to feel superior without doing the hard work to grow. And your presence, your light, your ambition, your peace, it threatens the image they have of themselves. So they chip away at it quietly. That's why awareness is everything. The more you learn to recognize these patterns, the less power they have over you. You begin to value your energy more, your time, your space, your peace. And you stop giving it away to people who only show up to compare, to doubt, or to control. So if someone in your life matches the signs you've seen, don't ignore it. Don't rationalize it. Trust your inner clarity. Step back, share less, and start investing that energy into the relationships that feed your soul, not drain it. Because at the end of the day, the people who are meant for you will never make you feel small just so they can feel bigger. They won't keep score. They won't need you to prove anything. They'll grow with you, not against you. And if this message resonated with you, take a quiet moment to reflect. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe for more insights like this every day. Because your journey toward clarity, strength, and self-respect is just beginning.